Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Sunny Hostin just hit peak meltdown mode. And no, it wasn't Mercury spinning backward. On an episode of The View that started like any other Tuesday, veteran legal commentator Sunny Hostin found herself under literal siege when Fox's resident smartass Greg Gutfeld decided to audit her on live TV. In 2 scorching minutes, he laid bare contradictions in her takes so blatant that even her teleprompter started stuttering.
I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
By the time she dabbed away tears, viewers everywhere were left wondering, has Sunny Hostin finally met her match? Stick around, because what happened next rewrote the playbook on On-Air Meltdown. Sunny Hostin has long been The View's self-appointed moral compass, armed with a law degree and a penchant for theatrical outrage.
So, Sunny, I bet you haven't been in a supermarket since COVID for about 3 years.
I haven't been in a supermarket since COVID. For about 3 years. That's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs. You know those big bounty towels you don't want to carry.
Those from Costco.
Somebody else goes.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable. Hey, I'm an but at least I tip.
She's carved a niche scolding conservatives for every perceived slight against democracy, while cheerleading policies from her own political tribe, no questions asked. Week after week, she scolds extremists, wields terms like threat to our republic, and peppers her rhetoric with calls for civility. As long as you're on her team, that formula has made her a ratings magnet. Viewers tune in expecting righteous indignation served in 4K clarity. But her brand of civil discourse has a funny way of vanishing the moment liberals slip up.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the news.
In the past, when politicians she backed employed similar tactics she condemned, Sunny waved it off as complex policy nuances. Those moments never made headlines, until Greg Gutfeld decided to connect the dots on national television. And that, my friends, was the crucible that shattered her carefully crafted on-air persona. But as calm as she seemed, there was a ticking time bomb beneath the surface.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Greg Gutfeld isn't a stereotypical cable news antagonist. Think of him as the sharp-witted uncle at family gatherings who listens politely, then drops a zinger that leaves Aunt Karen sputtering. On Gutfeld, his shtick blends biting satire with focused critique, and he's perfected the art of letting clips do the talking. No shouting matches, no orchestral hit when he lands a point, just a calm, sardonic delivery that roasts targets in full HD. When he eyed Sunny Hostin's pattern of thunderous, calls for civility juxtaposed with blind spots for her own tribe's misdeeds. He smelled a ratings and reputation gold mine. He spent days combing through archives, extracting every time she slammed an opponent for a policy that her allies quietly implemented. Once he assembled the montage, he knew it would play like a precision-guided missile, too accurate to dodge. On that fateful Tuesday, Gutfeld strolled onto the View's territory, courtesy of a special segment invitation, and set up his takedown with deceptive calm. His opening line, "Sonny, I've been a fan of your passion, which is why I'm baffled by your selective outrage," landed like a velvet glove turned iron fist.
Oh, I'm gonna milk this till the end of time. You're right. Anytime she says something stupid, I'm gonna go, slave owner. Kat, just watched that. That's the second time I've watched that. She was tipped off beforehand, right? Because they had to tell her before, so she had time to regroup. They wouldn't just surprise. Do you think? No?
I don't know. I feel like she could have maybe done better. Okay, here's the thing.
From there, he queued up clips one by one, each highlighting a flashpoint in Sunny's career. The impact was magnified by his restraint. No raised voice, no need for mockery. Just a relentless sequence of contradictions, each more glaring than the last. Once he pulled the curtain back, there was no going back. The montage began innocuously enough. Sunny's solemn denunciation of family separations at the border, her voice quivering with indignation as she called it an inhumane atrocity. The studio audience nodded in solemn agreement. Cue the second clip, a round of applause from Hostin when her favored administration implemented an identical policy framed as a nuanced approach to a complex issue. The audible gasp from the set was almost cinematic. Then came the zinger moments. Sunny demanding civil discourse for all provided you share, her latte-fueled declarations while labeling dissenters anti-democracy extremists.
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up.
A later snippet showed her celebrating free speech for progressive activists, followed by silence when conservative voices faced censorship allegations. Each cut peeled away another layer of her self-portrayal, revealing a pattern so clear that even the most loyal fans winced. But the crown jewel was Gutfeld's final receipt, a moment when Hostin chastised a senatorial candidate for alleged campaign finance violations, only to enthusiastically back a similarly accused politician when their party line matched hers. The tension in the room crackled like stolen electricity. Gutfeld looked straight at the camera, quipped, "Sonny, did your dashboard come with a selective blind spot feature?" The cynics in the crowd erupted, while the ambivalent sat frozen, unsure which side to cheer. What made this unmasking so devastating was its precision.
Joy Behar gets racism. After all, she's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast. So Scott had to deal with Sunny Hostin and her typical self-righteousness.
Gutfeld's clips weren't cherry-picked out-of-context sound bites. They were complete statements, delivered one after another to form a seamless argument. There was no hiding behind intellectualizing or invoking nuance. The message was crystal clear. Your critiques are only as genuine as your consistency. But the real fireworks began when the cameras cut back to Sunny. The moment Gutfeld finished, Sunny Hostin's facade cracked. The confident poise she sports on every promo shot melted away. Her voice wavered, her trademark quick comebacks gone. In their place, a near-silent pause, as if she were recalibrating her spiel in real time. Tears welled up, her lips trembled. The veteran commentator, who once wielded outrage like a cudgel, now found herself disarmed. When she finally spoke, it was in halting sentences. I feel attacked. This is unfair.
But unlike this chick, we didn't think it was the best thing that could have happened to us. Although it did get Joy Behar to wear a mask. You make me sick. It's funny, her being named Joy is like me being named ugly.
The kind of victim framing she rails against others for employing. Her co-hosts leapt to her defense, denouncing Gutfeld's lines as misogynistic and anti-women. But the damage was done. Millions of viewers had just watched Sunny crumble on national TV. It was a textbook case of what happens when someone's own arsenal is turned against them. No sooner had the segment aired than Twitter lit up. Memes exploded. One showed Hostin clutching her coffee mug, captioned, "When your receipts come back to haunt you." Another replaced her voice with a ringtone, timed to Gutfeld's punchlines. Even late-night hosts replayed the key moments, marveling at how perfectly Gutfeld's calm sarcasm dismantled Hostin's thunderous rhetoric. Hashtags like #HostinMeltdown and #GutfeldWins trended worldwide. Supporters rushed to claim moral victory. Critics revealed in the spectacle.
Did you watch the whole thing or just the parts that I sent you?
I watched it. Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off when she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism.
And in the court of public opinion, Gutfeld was declared champion of the day. No gladiator armor required. Meanwhile, clips of Hostin's meltdown garnered more views than any of her past rants, proving once again that in today's attention economy, controversy is currency. But with virality comes a reckoning, and The View was about to spin into overdrive. In the aftermath, The View scrambled. Segment producers scrapped planned topics to offer Sunny time to speak from the heart. She returned days later with a tear-stained message about vulnerability and emotional growth, urging viewers to embrace discomfort. Her co-hosts echoed calls for compassion and mental health awareness, all while sidestepping the core issue, the hypocrisy exposed. Yet for every sympathy post, there was a clip of Gutfeld's smirk, reminding viewers that accountability still wins clicks.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses. regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist.
The broader conversation shifted. Was it fair to ambush a colleague on live TV? Or was it time for hosts like Sunny to face the mirror they've been holding up to others? Advertisers quietly monitored sentiment. Ratings analysts predicted a bump for both shows. And viewers, they couldn't wait for round 2. So what's next? Will Sunny rebuild her on-air armor? Or will Gutfeld deliver another clinic in pointed sarcasm? Hypocrisy can be a ticking time bomb, especially when your own words are broadcast for the world to see. Sunny Hostin's 4K meltdown wasn't just entertainment. It was a reminder that no pundit is immune to their own contradictions. And Greg Gutfeld, he proved that a well-timed montage of receipts can pack more punch than any scripted monologue.
More time to talk. And I thought Will Smith wouldn't let a black man finish. If her IQ was half as high as her smugness, she'd be Einstein. And later it got weird after Whoopi Goldberg asked a question and Sunny chimed in.
Which side did you land on? Was Gutfeld's takedown fair game? Or was this an unkind ambush? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell. This is Sasha Spills signing off. Stay tuned, because the next celebrity showdown is just around the corner.